You're watching and listening to The Daily Living Show with D. Elias.
Welcome to Daily Living. On today's episode, I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas with Brenda McDaniel. Brenda is a registered nurse, a certified hypnotherapist, a crystal healer, along with many other things. Thank you so much, Brenda, for having me here with you today. And I would like to start by you telling me you started off as a registered nurse. What brought you to hypnotherapy and Reiki and crystals and everything that you do?
Well, it started in 1983 after the death of my oldest daughter. She died from a ruptured appendix, and I just wondered when I saw her body after she had passed away, the the energy that was her was not there. And so having a minor in microbiology and other sciences, I was just really interested in what happened to her. And I worked in ICU for 12 years and an emergency room and surgery. And I've seen lots of dead people. And then, as a kid, you see your pets die or something.
Right.
So I'd always wondered about that energy, what happened to the life force that was in them, and I knew it was energy. So, but when I looked at her, I was really conscious of it. And so it was just like this was this shell laying here.
Right.
And so I started on my search to find out where that energy that was her went to. And when I started, I thought I was trying to find out about her, but later on, I figured out it was about me. It was my journey for my own healing, and that I didn't even realize I needed. And so I first started off. I went to the School of Metaphysics in Kansas City, and I learned how to meditate, and I learned dream interpretation. I learned lots of things that kind of take you inside of yourself instead of being outside of yourself, into that subconscious space. And that helped relax me and calm me. And it also helps you to be aware of energies and energy and what's going on around you. And I was in that school for about 4 or 5 years, and in fact, they trained me to teach others to do these things. And while I was in the school, I learned about other alternative healing practices, and I learned about crystals, and I learned about hypnotherapy, acupuncture, acupressure. I learned about the chakras and the auric field and just anything you can think of they taught in that school. And I became aware of all these other things that I had no idea of before. And so they encourage you to experience these things, and they brought people in that would show you how they worked and teach you how to do different things. And so the first thing I got hooked on was the crystals. And so much so that one of the students in my class, she brought me 3 crystals. She brought me a rose quartz, a clear quartz, and an amethyst. And she gave me this book, and the book was by Katrina Raphael. She's the first one that she's even been on the cover of Times Magazine. And I read her book, and she only had one book then. And I started getting really interested in the whole crystal and mineral world. But in those days, you couldn't find minerals like you can all over. And they had one crystal shop in Kansas City, and it was in this guy's basement. He was an old rock. And I found it, and I was extremely busy in nursing at that time. But I myself find it and go there, and then I bought some crystals, and I bought her book, and then I'd never done this in my life. I wrote a letter to her, and being a nurse, I knew I could lay these crystals on and help people with it. But when you come from that background, you got, I'm from Missouri, you got to show me,
Right.
And so I'm really like that. And so I wrote her a letter, and I asked her, I didn't feel comfortable to lay them on someone just reading about it, because intuitively I knew there's a lot of things they put in books, but there's a lot they don't put in books. And myself being a teacher, that I know that, because it kind of comes through you. You don't know what you're going to teach or say from minute to minute a lot of times. And so I wrote her a letter, and I asked her if she had these minerals I couldn't find in Kansas City. Did she sell them? And also, did she teach classes? Or did she have classes at her healing center? And it was in Taos, New Mexico. And I got a letter back from her within like 7 days that told me, yes, she did sell them and how much they cost. And then she says, and I'm starting a class in 2 weeks. And 2 people, she only took 22 people. She says 2 people just dropped out, and if you're interested, you can sign up. And I knew I had to go there.
Right.
And I traveled a lot, but I'd never gone any place by myself where I didn't know anybody. Or, let alone go, you have to fly into Albuquerque, and you still have to do that.
Right.
And then you have to rent a car and drive up 3 hours in the mountains to get the Taos in this little town. But I knew I could not do it. I was supposed to do it. And I did. And I went there and learned a lot. And I took all her classes, and then I started, I had an experience there. And this was like when I was really at the end of, I had already taken the advanced classes. And I had a full crystal layout on myself. And during the layout, I had all this anger that came up that I didn't even know I had. It shocked me. It was just tons. It was like screaming kind of anger.
That had built up over
That
the
had
years.
built up, that I was angry at my father. I had no idea. I was the good girl. My sister was the bad girl. I never tell my father that I was pissed off at him. And so she, in the healing, this anger came up. But I need to backtrack because before I went there from Kansas City to Taos, New Mexico, I had been sick. And they couldn't find out what was wrong with me. I just felt, you know how you don't feel good. You don't have the flu, but you feel like it.
Right.
And so I went to the doctor, which I don't usually go to, but I went because I didn't want to go out of town and be sick.
Right.
And so he drew some blood on me, and he gave me some medicine, and then I went and got some cranial sacral work, and I felt better. So I went on the trip. And so I got there on, I think I got there on a Friday, and class started on Monday. And then on Wednesday, we always encourage people to get a full crystal layout that are taking the classes to do layouts on others, so you experience what it's really about and what it really feels like. And so I was taking it this Wednesday, and I took this, and I got this layout, this full crystal layout, and that's when all the anger came up, all this stuff about my father I had no idea. And then once I did that, then I went into these multiple past life memories that was all about anger too. It was literally the same thing that I had just been bringing in from lifetimes, from lifetime to
Wow.
lifetime to lifetime. So to make a long story short, when I got back, my husband calls me up the next day, and he says, your doctor called and your blood test came back, and he wants you to get out there now. He says, you're really sick. And when I went back to the hotel from the healing, I looked up anger. And anger, the organ it affects is the liver. And so I said to him, I said, what does he think is wrong with me? He said, you have a massive liver disease.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, and then I just started laughing because I'm feeling great.
You've got rid of your anger.
So I go, and when I get back, and I say, no, I'm not coming home right away. I'm going to come home when I'm supposed to. And he was real upset. The doctor had upset him, And so I go home, and he picks me up at the airport. And the first thing he says is, you need to call your doctor. He wanted me to call you. And this doctor was a friend of mine, and he was an intern when I was in nursing school. So, it was like that. And so he was very concerned.
Right.
And so I went out there, and I walked in, and he says, well, you don't look sick at all. And I said, I'm not sick. And so he examines me, and then he shows me my blood test. And it was the test you take for like liver disease. And it's like 4 tests that diagnose it then, And they all got to kind of work together. So I said to I said, could the lab have made a mistake or mixed me up with somebody else? And he says, no, because each one confirms the other one.
Right.
So he drew my blood again while I was there. And he ran the test again, and they came back normal. And so he says to me, I don't know what you did in New Mexico. And of course, in those days, I didn't know not to tell a doctor what I did in holistic medicine. And I tell him, I had a crystal healing. And he ran out of the room. He says, well, I'm glad you better, but I don't want to hear any more about it. So anyway, that was my first confirmation. I was blown away. So I got copies of before and after.
Right.
And I sent copies to Katrina, and she loved that too. It's like something, but to get it confirmed like that physically, especially if you kind of got that scientific mind, And so I knew that's what I was supposed to do. And I ended up working for her and teaching crystal certification for about 2 years after that. I went down there through the summer and early fall, 10 days out of every month, and taught classes. And that's where I met all these people from all over the world that came to her classes. And that started me traveling everywhere and teaching and meeting people. And one day, I was sitting on my patio in Kansas City. I just came back, I think from New Zealand or someplace. And I was just feeling great. And I thought I wasn't feeling so terribly sad about my daughter anymore. And it dawned on me that she gifted me. She gifted me. The whole thing was about, I know without her dying, I would never have started on that path.
Absolutely.
I know that. And that was like a contract we had with each other from eons ago.
You have a crystal with you. Would you like to kind of demonstrate?
Well, I can you want me to demonstrate it on you?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll do it.
I'll talk about this crystal first.
Okay.
This is called a Dow crystal, D-O-W, and it is a master crystal, and it's a quartz, and it comes from one of the Coleman mines here north of our Hot Springs. It's really quite beautiful. And
It is.
A Tao crystal has a 7 3 7 3 7 3 face, and that is the female, the male, the female, the male, the female, the male, and that is perfect balance, and it is known as the Christ crystal, the Christ conscious crystal. And what this master crystal does is it brings that Christ-like light into your electromagnetic field, into your auric field. And it's like, it's about love, universal love,
Right.
and all those things. But if you stand up, I'll show you how you can work with just the quartz point.
Okay.
I want you just to close your eyes and just take deep breaths. And I'm going to run this crystal up and down your chakra line in your electromagnetic field. And just take deep breaths in and out. You always start at the top. I'm going to do this 3 times. And you always end at the bottom. And when I do this, I'm just clearing out your auric field. And I'm going to turn you around. And I'm going to do the same thing to your back. And when you're working with a quartz point, never cover the end of it. The way you point it is where the light goes, the energy goes. And you always hold it in your right hand. And like I say, you always end at the feet. Okay. How was that?
You know, standing, when you first started doing that, I could feel like, it feels like magnetic or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just clearing out your auric field. And sometimes when you run through somebody, you can feel places, you can feel where it's like, it just sluggish and you want to work there more or hold it there more and have them to breathe there more. The heart. Yeah. But that's just, so I was just been holding this crystal because it's about balance. And
so is the heart like stress?
No, you might have some heartache there, or and it could be from a long time ago. It doesn't have to be right now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Past lives, even.
Yes, it can even be from past lives.
I love the idea of the crystal healing.
Yes, I just was so addicted to that. And being trained in the crystal certification, I teach a little hypnosis because it's really good to get people real relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing imagery and color therapy. It's all a mixture of all these things when you're doing the healing and hypnosis. And what I found out, I can do regression therapy or past life regression without the crystals. but it goes faster when you lay the crystals on.
Right.
Because the way they work is your chakras spinning. And the crystals bring more light and energy into your auric field, and especially the quartz. And then that starts your chakras spinning, and we hold things there.
Right.
And anything you're holding in your chakra just kind of comes up to the surface or to your conscious mind and makes you aware of it. And it might be something you're already aware of it, but a lot of times, like the anger with my father,
Right.
I just had blocked that, because lots of times we repress things we don't want to look at.
Absolutely.
And it can bring things up you already know about, or it can bring things up you don't have any conscious awareness of. And so, and that made me decide that, because I was doing the hypnosis with the crystal healing, that was part of getting them into, the past lives, or to the core issue. Let's say you don't go to past lives all the time, but you go to the core issue, the issue that you need to go to. And I always do it. So you go to the cause of it.
Right.
The core issue, the original core issue. And a lot of times once you get to that, it's like, oh, I don't need that anymore.
Right.
And so
you're able to let go.
You let go all of it up to now. You just let it go.
And then's when the healing begins and you can move on with your life.
That is the healing.
Right.
Yes. And that's the lesson. I believe we're all here to learn different lessons in our lifetimes.
Right.
And that's your lesson you're working on and learning. Or like it did me, it opened me up once I let go of all that energy, all that anger I was holding. I was able to open up to other levels of mind. I wasn't blocking myself. It takes a lot of energy to hold anger or hold emotions in. It takes more than it does to let them go, but we're so afraid to let it go that we hold it in, and we think we're protecting ourselves emotionally, but we're not. And I believe when you hold any energy in, it causes dis-ease. I really believe that anger can cause cancer. You're holding it. You don't know you're holding it in these different places.
Absolutely. These
different parts of your body.
Do you teach people how to cleanse themselves with crystals?
Just like I just taught you, that. It's hard to do this on yourself, but you can.
Right.
You can sweep your auric field. I really teach people to cleanse themselves with oils, and also I like frankincense for that. And
I hear a lot of good things about frankincense.
Smudging with sage, the white sage. That clears out your auric field too.
Right.
And there's some stones, like tourmaline is a good stone to put on you. It protects you from negative energy, and it's a great stone. Tourmaline,
Right.
Black tourmaline is the one. And I always have a piece of black tourmaline on me someplace because of that. You're going in and out of places all the time that you don't know what's been dropped off, and people drop their energy off. Yeah.
But you said when you got to my heart, how do you know? I mean, is that where some of your workshops, like if I done that to myself, how would I know that that's...
Lots of people feel it themselves. They just kind of feel maybe a little ache or maybe a little pressure or just a change, like they have to take a breath there or something, And also intuitively, I could tell that too. It just felt, oh, okay.
Right.
And then I'm empathic, which that's a whole nother story.
You also are a hypnotherapist.
Yes.
And one of the fascinating stories that you told me earlier was about the lady that was 100 pounds overweight.
Hypnosis is a natural state. We hypnotize ourselves every day, all day long. People think somebody has to swing this thing in front of
Yes.
your eye, but you put yourself, hypnosis is trance state, and we put ourselves in trance state all the time. If you've ever driven a car someplace and you get to your destination and you like, how did I get here?
Right.
You were in trance state and your subconscious mind was driving the car. We're only 10% conscious mind, and the rest 90% is our subconscious mind, and that's where we know everything there. And so when you're young, you're imprinted in your subconscious mind really easy from infancy all the way through your childhood. Things just stick in there, and they're called imprints. And there can be good imprints and there can be bad imprints. And this woman you mentioned earlier, she was 100 pounds overweight and she was morbidly obese. It was like she was going to die. She was dying if she didn't lose this weight. And she didn't want to die. She tried everything. She went on diets, she got medicine, she got shots, and she just could not stop eating. And she came to me about that. She was wanting to try hypnosis. And so, knowing how hard it had been, I decided to regress her back to the core imprint that was creating this, something inside her subconscious that was, creating this. And I took her back to when she was a little kid, like maybe 3 years old or so. And she had to belong to the Clean Your Plate Club. You know about that.
Right.
We belonged to that when I was a kid too. My mother had all of us in it.
Right.
And if you didn't eat all your food, you were told, all these little kids in China was dying and starving to death and dying because they didn't have food. And here you were not eating your food. And so that's what her mother told her all the time. And so she was eating even when she wasn't hungry, even when she wasn't full. And that was imprinted in her mind, in her subconscious when she was probably about 3 years old. And we went back there and we put positive imprints. That's how you change things in hypnosis. You find the imprint that's creating something, and then you put a positive imprint on top of it. And we put on there that she would only eat if she was hungry. She would stop eating when she was full. And it was real simple things. She would eat only good and healthy food.
Right.
And she lost 100 pounds. In fact, I seen her like a year later, and I didn't know who she was. And she says, "Brenda, you don't know me, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't." And she tells me, I'm the lady that weighed 100 pounds. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But that's
awesome.
Changed her life. And hypnosis is wonderful like that. It can really change your life. You can use it for relaxation. You can use it for stress. You can use it for finding things. The police use it.
Right.
You can use it for medicinal things like women in labor and delivery. That's medical hypnosis. You can use it, in dentistry. There's so many things. You can use it for test taking. I have lots of people come to me that, they have a fear of taking tests. They have the information, but when they get there to take the test, they can't remember it. I have a lot of people come to me for that. And then, of course, there's the addictive behaviors like smoking and alcohol. And I have a lot of people that come for sugar addictions. And so I got a really simple one for that. And I also teach people self-hypnosis. Anybody that comes to me to get hypnotized, I always end it with self-hypnosis so they can hypnotize their own self anytime, any place. And I think that is so empowering. And what I do is teach them to help themselves to, in 30 seconds, feel calm and peaceful and so relaxed.
One thing that I like about that is I know a lot of people suffer from panic and anxiety attacks. So when they come to see you for that, you can teach them self-hypnosis and they can shut down them attacks within 30 seconds of them feeling it coming on.
Yes. Yeah. Because usually people that have panic attacks feel it coming on.
Yes.
They know it's coming on,
Yes.
you know. And so you just start working on it right away.
They just don't know how to stop it or shut it down.
Yeah. And it's also just good, you know, and this this technique, you can use it when you're driving, you know, for road rage, and you can use it in an argument, and you can do it while you're standing there talking to somebody and they don't even know you're doing it, but it just calms you down. And when you're calm and centered, you have a different response.
Yes.
You see the bigger picture. You
Absolutely.
respond different. And so you are in control. It helps going to sleep at night. I work with quite a few people that have panic attacks and post-traumatic shock syndrome. And they, hypnosis is probably one of the best things for that, because you just take them really deep and get them out of their conscious mind into their subconscious mind, and they all say they feel like they just took a nap and feel refreshed when they come back. You don't have to be asleep to be hypnotized. Like, you know that because you can drive a car and be in trance state. You watch TV, don't advertisers know how to hypnotize you.
Absolutely.
They know. You sit there watching those commercials and you're buying stuff you don't even want.
Right.
They know.
Yeah.
You know, and you're not asleep when you do that. But it's pretty awesome. It's really good for promoting yourself on your job. It makes things clear. People with writer's block or artists that can't think, they come to me for hypnosis. Also, athletes like runners and people that play tennis and golf, it's good for that. You get them in that trance state. And when you're in that trance state, you're in the zone and you're one with whatever you're doing.
Right.
You know.
Tell me about Reiki.
Well, Reiki is a natural healing, and it was invented by this Dr. Yusui in Japan. And Reiki is a Japanese word, and it means higher power, higher universal power, universal light. That's what it means. And that's what you're doing. You're channeling in the highest universal light through you and to the person that needs it. It helps you to relax. It helps you. It helps with pain. It goes to wherever it needs to go in your body. They're using Reiki a lot in hospitals and in medicine. You don't have to believe it. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. You don't have to believe in it, and it still works. It comes through you and goes into the person. So when you're giving a person a Reiki treatment, you're giving yourself one at the same time.
Wow.
And I think everybody should have Reiki. Mothers, You can stop minor bleeding with Reiki. That your kid falls down, those boo-boos,
Right.
you can put your hand on them. Um, I think everybody, mothers, fathers, doctors, nurses, massagists, chiropractors, I think everybody should have Reiki. Should have at least Reiki 1. It's really 4 levels of Reiki. There's the Reiki 1, and then that's when you first learn how to channel the energy through you and the positions of the hands. There's Reiki 2, where you get symbols that increases it, and you can also send long distance Reiki with the symbols.
Like over the phone.
You don't do it over the phone. You just do it.
You just channel it.
You channel it, yes.
It's not like talking to someone over the phone and like channeling it that way.
No.
They don't even have to know it.
Well, you have to get permission when you do any kind of healing. And you can ask them permission. And, if they don't want you to give it to them, it's going to back up in your hands. You're going to feel it. They're not going to take it. Because like any of these things, especially like the hypnosis, people worry I'm going to make them bark like a dog or
quack like a duck.
Quack like a duck. And they asked me this. And I said, you're not going to do anything you don't want to do. And, everybody's seen stage hypnosis, which is fun.
But that's what you see on TV. So
that's what you call stage hypnosis.
Right.
And those people are open to that, and they find out that before they put them there. They're open to doing whatever, They're just open to the whole process.
Right.
But if there's something you don't want to tell or something you don't want to say or do, you are not going to do it. Your subconscious mind will not let you do it.
Right.
And in any of these works, healing, nobody can do anything to you if you don't want it.
Right.
They can't take power over your power. And so, even if you don't say you don't want it, when you don't want something subconsciously,
right. And you teach Reiki.
I teach Reiki, and I do Reiki attunements. And like I was saying, there's Reiki 1, there's Reiki 2 with the symbols, and you learn how to do the long distance. Reiki 3 is the Reiki master is Reiki 3, and you get one more symbol. And then a lot of people, that's as far as they go. They just want to do it, working on people. And then there is the master teacher Reiki, and that's where you learn to attune other people to the different levels.
Right. That's number 4.
Yeah, that's number 4. And so for years and years, I only had Reiki 2. I did it on my kids. You can do it on your dogs, your cats, your plants, everything. I had a plant that was dying. One of those plants that are dying, but it won't die. It's just alive enough where you feel guilty if you throw it away.
Yes. I think I have several of those.
So I started doing Reiki on this plant. And then I put it out on my patio where I used to have another office here in town. And I put it out on the patio there. And it was trees growing. It was up on the second floor. And there was trees growing all over, around the outdoor deck. And I just stuck this plant there. And I watered it, but it was blended in with the leaves of the tree, and I didn't pay any attention to it. So when fall came and the leaves started, I brought all my plants in. I pulled that plant out, and I was just shocked. And it was like really tall. In fact, it was so tall, my neighbor had to get his pickup truck. I decided to bring it home. And then after that, for years, whenever I walk by that plant, it loves that Reiki. It just it shivers. It just starts coming over. It blows over to me. And in the house where there's not even any wind, but it wants that Reiki. It feels that energy. And animals are so sensitive to it. You work on them, and kids too. You can sit them in your lap, and 5 minutes of Reiki, and they're okay.
Right.
So it's I just think it's very important, and it's really helpful. I've used it in nursing on patients that don't want to take any kind of medicine and help them with pain.
And you also have been called in as far as hospice.
Oh, I've used it in hospice a lot, yeah. And they use Reiki in hospitals now all over the country. In
Right.
fact, some hospitals in their cancer center, they'll have a Reiki, what they call Reiki Sunday. And all of these Reiki healers come from all over the city. I know they do that in a couple hospitals in Cleveland, Ohio. They come from all over the city, and they just do Reiki on people. They
Yeah.
have the tables up, and they do it, and these people with cancer come there,
Right.
and they just work on them, for 30 minutes or something like that, all day, all Sunday.
Right.
And it just helps relax them and helps them feel better, and it helps their medicine to work better, their pain medicine. Um,
When is your workshop to teach Reiki?
I'm going to have a Reiki 3 class. That's a master Reiki class. And you have to have your 1 and 2 to take the 3.
Right.
That's going to be on the first Sunday of November. I don't have the date. But it is the first Sunday in November. And you can call me or email me. Are you going to put my email on?
All
or
the
something?
information that you want contact-wise will be on this.
Okay. Just contact me if you want to sign up.
By
But
email
email
or office number.
or call me.
Yeah. Okay.
My home number.
When do you have a date set up for Reiki 1?
Well, it's kind of last minute. I might be doing Reiki 1 the last weekend of this month because there's some people that want to take it.
Me too.
Oh, you too? So I'm going to see if that works out for them, but
Right.
I think they want to take it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So I will give your contact information, and they can contact you if they're interested.
Right.
Is Reiki the only class you teach?
No, I teach crystal certifications 1, 2, and 3. Beginners, intermediate, and advanced crystal healing. And in the crystal healing, I teach you all the different stones and how they relate to each chakra and how they work with each chakra and different organs in your body. I teach different meditations that go with them. I teach relaxation techniques. I teach some past life techniques. And that's Reiki 1. It's very intense. It's a 4-day class. It's very intense. And it's from morning till 5:30 in the evening. And then I teach Reiki 2, where I teach you more about a technique called NLP and more hypnosis. And also, while I'm teaching that, I teach you ways to clear the crystals, to clear yourself, to protect yourself from negative energy. All of that is in the class.
Right.
And then the third one is just more of the same, but more.
Mm-hmm.
And while I'm teaching it, you work on each other. And we go out to a crystal mine and do a meditation at Wagner's Crystal Mine in Mount Ida. So it's just a really interesting time.
Right.
Yeah. And then I also I don't teach hypnosis. I do some lectures on hypnosis, but I don't teach hypnosis. I teach a class called I teach metaphysical courses for self-realization, And I've taught that before, and about 4 or 5 years ago, and I started in January of 2019. I'm not having any classes right now. They're kind of finished.
Right.
But it's, you can go as long as you want to. It's once a week, and you learn how to meditate. You learn dream interpretation. You learn relaxation techniques. You learn about karma and reincarnation. You just, it's vast. You learn about astrology and your chart. You learn about spirit guide animals and
wow.
Right. It's just a whole bunch in there.
Right.
And it goes for as long as you want it to. Long as the class want to take it. I have a class now. It's my advanced class, and we took a break for the summer, and now they're wanting to know when we're starting up again.
How many years have you been doing this, Brenda?
Well, I started in the School of Metaphysics probably in '84, and you could say, and then I probably started teaching around '85, and I trained in the crystals in '87, and I've been doing it ever since. And and in between that, I took Reiki, and I took all kinds of. I was what you call an energy junkie at first. Anything that had to do with energy healing, I took it.
Right.
I studied it and I took it. Just tons of things I don't even do, but
it was interesting.
It was interesting. And I also do soul retrieval, which is it's an ancient, it's oldest. There are men. They've been doing soul retrievals ever since they've had a shamans or healers. They've been doing soul retrievals, and the concept of soul retrieval is like they believe that when you have some kind of trauma, parts of yourself shatter off.
Right.
And it's a protective measure. And that's okay. That's how little kids protect themselves when they're in situations, because they have no control. And so they just kind of leave. Parts of them leave so they can
deal with it.
And we all do that.
Right.
And that's part of the post-traumatic shock syndrome, too. Mm-hmm. That's part of the panic attacks. And so what I do is I take myself in the trance state. It could be with a drum or a rattle, because I was trained under Sun Bear, and that's Native American. We live in this continent, so that's who I would be trained by. But in other continents, there's other peoples, that indigenous people that do that. They still do it and train people. And so I just go and find some parts or those parts or whatever you need to work on it for that time, and bring them back and blow them into your heart and your head and tell you what I got. And it's very subtle, but it's very powerful. And then a lot of times after that, I'll put you on a table and lay the crystals out on you and do some hypnosis. And crystals work, I found out that different things work for different people.
Sure.
Everybody doesn't respond to the same thing.
Right.
So I have all these different alternative techniques to use, and sometimes I combine 2 or 3 of them together. Mm-hmm. And it's just what you need. That's how I work. I just tune in to what's going to work best for you.
Right.
And that's how I work.
Well, Brenda, you're a very fascinating woman. You touch and help so many people, and I think it's just awesome what you do.
Yes. Yes, I enjoy it. I started back teaching the metaphysical classes because it felt to me that it just seems like this whole country, this whole world is just so disconnected from
Absolutely.
themselves. And
That is so true.
I said, I need to start teaching this again.
Right. And people need to just
so
come
they
to
can
focus.
connect within themselves,
Yes.
because that's where your power is,
Right.
not outside of you.
Right.
And everybody's just running around outside of themselves. And so that's why I started teaching those last
Right.
January again. It just felt like I could help people that way. And they, in turn, can help other people.
Absolutely. Okay. Well,
Okay.
is there anything else you would like to add?
I forgot to tell you, hypnosis is really good for asthma.
That is awesome. You know, I imagine it's very good for many health ailments.
Oh, I teach little kids how to stop their own asthma attacks.
Really?
Kids are good. They're really good with hypnosis. They do
They're
do it
just
easy.
so pure.
Yeah. And also bedwetting. I have a lot of
Really?
kids for that, yeah.
Wow.
It's usually something from another time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
The asthma thing is huge, because to help a child stop their own asthma attacks, that would be huge.
Yeah. They learn how to do that.
Thank you so much for allowing me to come to your office today. This has just been so exciting and very informational. You're a wealth of knowledge. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and asking me.
Absolutely. Please support our sponsor, RenovationTea.com. You'll find a large variety from daily to specific herbal remedy teas, all certified organic and fair trade. Use DL10 to get a 10% discount. You can find details in the description below. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you won't miss an episode.